A very prevalent part of Minecraft are its various inventory menus. If you spend any time playing the game, it's pretty likely you'll see these menus while crafting your tools, watching stuff smelt, rooting through your chests, or looking at your inventory and wishing it was bigger. As someone who has played this game too much, I've noticed a lot of things about these menus that might go unnoticed by some players, so I thought I would make a video about it. First off, a quirk about shift clicking. As you likely know, if you hold shift when clicking on an item from your inventory, it'll immediately move to another place, generally in another section of the menu. For example, in your regular inventory menu, if you shift click on an item in your hotbar, it'll move to somewhere in your main inventory, usually on one of the upper rows as far left as it can go. With some blocks and mobs, shift-clicking an item can send it to a different place depending on which slot it's taking up. As a general rule, if an item is in some sort of input slot, it'll usually be sent to the top left of your inventory, while if it's in an output slot, or just a general use slot, like chests and stuff, it'll go to the rightmost slot of your hotbar, or the bottom right of your inventory. This even goes for some mobs, like villagers and their trading slots. Of course, this is only a general pattern, there are exceptions. One of such exceptions is in your player inventory. If you shift-click something from your inventory into your hotbar, it'll go to the left instead of the right. Another exception is with brewing stands, where both the main input slot and the blaze powder input slot will send items to the right of your hotbar, unlike all of the other input slots I could think of. For one more little piece of inconsistency, taking off one of your pieces of armor with a shift click will put that piece of armor towards the top left of your inventory, similar to input slots. But taking armor or equipment off a mount, like a horse or a llama, will put that item near the bottom right into your hotbar, like output slots. Speaking of entities, I have a few more things to say about their menus. First off, while it's most common to access an entity's inventory by writing it and opening your own inventory, you can get in there without writing anything by crouching while you right-click. Either way, when you look in the menu, you'll see the name of the entity whose menu it is. Fun part is, this name changes if the entity is named, either with a name tag for most mobs or with an anvil for minecarts and boats. For rideable mobs, the name will even show up hovering over the little menu model's head, the one that looks at your mouse, which is kind of fun. I'm all done with entity stuff, so there are a bunch of blocks that have their own menus. For now, I'll be focusing on the recipe books that some of them have. These are pretty handy to help you keep up with the constantly growing list of things you make in the game, but just like anything else in this video, there are little quirks with the recipe books to talk about. For example, something you may not have thought about are how the recipes in these books are sorted, which is a little more complicated than you may think at first. Let's look at the smoker as our first example, since it has the most simple recipe book. Looking through the item names in here, it starts with baked potatoes, goes through a bunch of cooked stuff, and ends with dried kelp, which suggests it's in alphabetical order. There is a bit of a snag with this idea though, because right after baked potatoes, before any of the cooked stuff, there's a steak. If the sorting was actually alphabetical, shouldn't the steak be at the end? S comes way after D in the alphabet, so steak should come after dried kelp, right? Not necessarily. If you play it with advanced tooltips on, like I do, hovering over the steak recipe will reveal a telling piece of information. Steak's internal item name is not steak, but instead cooked beef. This suggests that the recipes are ordered alphabetically by the internal name of the product. We can try to confirm using other recipe books, like with the blast furnace. Interesting. Most of the recipes are in alphabetical order, starting with coal and ending with quartz, but redstone is out of its place here. If this was a straightforward alphabetical sorting, redstone should be at the end, since even looking at the item names for redstone and nether quartz, R would come after Q. Most of it is sorted alphabetically though, so it seems like we're on the right track, just missing some details. Maybe we can get some hints by looking through the other tabs, not just the All Recipes one. Alright, that might be something. Most of the items, all of the ones that are in alphabetical order, are in the second tab, starting with coal and going down to quartz. Redstone is in its own tab for whatever reason, which might be why it's the only one out of order, being earlier than it should be. Again, we still have a couple of recipe books to look at so we can check out the reasoning. I already know that the crafting table has a couple of curveballs to throw our way, so I'll solidify our current understanding of the sorting with the furnace. As you can see, the book starts with baked potatoes and all of the other food, then jumps back up the alphabet to B for black glazed terracotta. Then it continues down the alphabet all the way to yellow glazed terracotta, and jumps back to the start for bricks. If we look at the tabs over here, the first one starts with baked potatoes and ends with dried kelp. The second starts with black glazed terracotta and ends with yellow glazed terracotta. And the last one starts with bricks and finishes with resin bricks. This all basically locks in the fact that the full recipe list is sorted by section and sorted alphabetically within each section. Now, of course, the crafting table has a couple more ways to screw things up. Recipes with multiple different outputs, and multiple recipe entries for the same items. Luckily, one of these seems pretty simple. For recipes that cycle through multiple outputs, like all the different wooden planks, it seems like they're all sorted alphabetically within the category, and their placement in the full list is based on the first item within that cycling category. So for wood planks, they're at the start of this category's list because the first wood plank recipe would be for acacia planks, which starts with an A and comes before everything else. Then the recipe entry starts cycling through the different options in alphabetical order. The second issue, the one about multiple recipes making the same item thing, is more annoying. Prime example of this is the ghast harness, where one of them comes before the bow and the other comes after the diamond sword. My best guess for these is that the first one is going off of the same system as the planks, where it's put high up because the first color of harness is black, which starts with B. And the second one might have an internal recipe name for crafting a dyed harness, which would explain why it's after the D's and before the F's. I checked some other dyeable items like wool and carpet, and this hypothesis holds for those too. Their placement makes sense with this idea in mind. But I have no way to definitively prove this idea without learning how to look at and understand Minecraft's code, which I don't really want to do just to look at how recipes get ordered for a silly video about small details in Minecraft menus. Anyway, I spent a while talking about sorting, so I'll summarize and move on. Each section of the recipe book is sorted alphabetically, with any stacked recipes being sorted alphabetically within the stack, and going in the full list where their first recipe would go. For the tab that has all of the recipes from the book, each of the small sections are basically just glued together into one long list, preserving each of their individual sortings. As one more little detail for the road, when you unlock a new recipe the first time you see it in the book's menu, it'll do a little pulse to draw your attention to it. That's enough of the recipe book. It's had more than its fair share of runtime. To finish out, I've got a bunch of random facts that I couldn't be bothered to sort or write transitions for, so I'll be showing them off lightning round style. Ready, go. The tooltip box is slightly transparent, and its outline has a bit of a gradient to it. The redstone dust arrow in the crafter's menu lights up if the crafter is powered. Blocks that can hold items, like chests or hoppers, will change the name shown in the menu if the block is renamed in an anvil, with the ender chest being an exception. The smithing table's hover tip for the ingredient slot says add ingot or crystal if you put in a trim template, even though redstone dust is used to get a red trim, and it's quite notably a pile of dust, not an ingot or a crystal. The smithing table and crafter are the only menus that give tooltips for empty slots. with smithing tables telling you what to put in each slot, and crafters telling you that you can disable slots. A crafter's input slots look slightly different than regular slots to act as a hint that you can mess with them. There are two block menus that feature scroll bars, being the stonecutter and the loom. And finally, throughout all the menus that I could remember to look at, there are 29 different outlines that can be found in different inventory slots. These are the following. Blaze powder and bottles can be found with the brewing stand. A banner, a palette for dyes, and a banner pattern can be found in the loom. Lapis can be found with the enchanting table. Nautilus armor can be found with nautiluses and zombie nautiluses. Horse armor can be found for horses and zombie horses. Saddles can be found with a lot of stuff. I don't really want to list them all off, so trust me on that. Carpet can be found with the llama and the trader llama. The 4 armor slots and the offhand can be found in the player inventory. And the smithing table gives us a lot of stuff, being a trim template, an upgrade template, a sword, a pickaxe, an axe, a hoe, a shovel, a spear, an ingot, some dust, some quartz, a diamond, an emerald, and a generic shard, not counting the repeats that it gives, being the helmet, chestplate, legging, and boot slots from the player survival inventory, the Nautilus armor from Nautilus inventories, and lapis from the enchanting table. Notably missing here is horse armor, because the ability to upgrade horse armor to netherite was added at the same time as Nautilus's, but the horse armor outline was not added to the smithing table menu, which is weird. Also interesting about these outlines, they are not used for the cartography table or the beacon, even though in both cases, inputs are limited to a very select few items. Beacons I can get since the options that you have are laid out directly in front of you, but I feel like these little item outlines would fit in quite well with the cartography table, so that is my recommendation, I guess. And that's all I've got for this video. Thanks for watching. In this little outro segment, I wanted to say summer's coming to an end, and I'll be going back up to college soon, so you can expect my video schedule to be thrown off whack. I'm going to be focusing on that for most of the time, and just uploading on here whenever I have an idea and have time to put together a video. That also means I will not be uploading any more building practice for a while. I don't think anyone's gonna miss it based on the view counts those have been getting, but I thought I'd mention it just for the, 20 regular viewers that those have. In any case, that's all I've got to say. Just wanted to give you a heads up for what's coming. So, have a good day, sort your chests, and have fun doing some redstone.